10 things that you didn't know about the NHL. The NHL has always been a fan-favorite sport, but we can bet you that there are a lot of mysteries around this sport that you yourself might have no clue about. Today we will look at 10 things that you didn't know about the NHL. So make sure that before we begin, you hit that like button and press the subscribe button all the way in to stay updated about the other events that happened in the events. The NHL, or National Hockey League, is an expert ice hockey league in North America. It is broadly regarded as the world's premier expert ice hockey league, proposing the top gamers from all around the globe. The league used to be centered in 1917 and consists of 32 teams, with 24 in the United States and 7 in Canada. The NHL normal season usually runs from October to April, with every crew enjoying 82 games. The pinnacle 16 groups in the league then qualify for the playoffs, which consist of 4 rounds of best-of-7 collection to decide the Stanley Cup champion. The NHL has a lengthy and storied history, with many legendary players and groups contributing to its wealthy legacy. The league has additionally been at the forefront of improvements in the sport, such as using video replay to evaluate calls on the ice and introducing superior information to consider participant performance. Overall, the NHL is a cherished and thrilling sports activities league, recognized for its fast-paced action, severe physicality, and passionate fan base. Whether you are a die-hard hockey fan or an informal observer, the NHL gives something to everyone. The Stanley Cup costs only $48. The Stanley Cup is the annual championship trophy to the National Hockey League playoff winner. It is named after Lord Stanley of Preston, who used to be the Governor-General of Canada in 1892 when he bought the trophy for $48. The Cup is one of the oldest and most prestigious trophies in expert sports, with a wealthy record courting lower back to 1893. Winning the Stanley Cup is the closing purpose for any NHL team, and it is frequently viewed as the pinnacle of a player's career. The subculture of the prevailing crew taking a victory lap with the cup is one of the most iconic moments in all of the sports. Spelling mistakes on the Stanley Cup. Over the years, the Stanley Cup has had its truthful share of spelling mistakes engraved on its iconic surface. With every championship team's name introduced to the cup, it is not exclusive for errors to occur. A complete 14 spelling mistakes have been made on the cup's floor since its inception. One of the superb errors came about in 1972 when the Boston Bruins were listed as the BQSTQN Bruins due to a mistake made using the engraver. Other mistakes consist of the Toronto Maple Leafs being listed as Maple Leafs in 1963, and the New York Islanders being listed as Islanders in 1981. Despite the mistakes, the errors have come to be a part of the Cup's records and charm. In some cases, the errors have grown to be a source of pleasure for the teams and gamers who have won the Cup, with some even asking for their name to be misspelt deliberately to immortalize themselves on the trophy. While the errors may additionally seem minor, they serve as a reminder of the Cup's lengthy and storied history and the importance of interest in detail when engraving the prevailing team's names. Misprint of Jacques Plantes' name 5 times in a row. Jacques Plantes used to be a legendary goaltender in the National Hockey League who won the Stanley Cup 6 times and used to be the first goalie to generally put on a mask. However, at some point in his profession, there used to be one incident that is regularly remembered for all the incorrect reasons. During a sport in 1968, the Chicago Blackhawks printed Plantes' identity on the return of his jersey. Instead of Plante, the journey examines Plant. What made this misprint even extra egregious was once that it passed off now not simply once, but 5 instances in a row. The mistake was once made by way of the Blackhawks gear manager, who used to be rapidly fired after the game. However, the incident grew to be a supply of embarrassment for the crew and a factor of entertainment for followers and the media. Mouth guards were not necessary for NHL. The use of a mouth guard in the National Hockey League can can be traced to the 1960s when gamers started experimenting with exceptional dental protection. In 1979, the NHL made it obligatory for all gamers to put on mouth guards, turning into the first main expert sports activities league to do so. The selection was once made after several high-profile incidents of gamers dropping teeth or struggling with different dental injuries. Today, all gamers in the NHL are required to put on mouth guards for the duration of video games and practices, with penalties issued for non-compliance. Mouth guards have become a fundamental tool in the NHL, now not solely for dental safety but also for stopping concussions and different head injuries. The use of mouth guards is simply one of the many methods that the league has prioritized for participant protection over the years. Do you know? Sometimes YouTube does experiments, and the current one is changing the color of the subscribe button once clicked. Why don't you give it a try? So, are you done subscribing? Let's move towards our topic. Goalie masks in NHL. Mask making was not mentioned as a career until Stéphane Bergeron proved it, because he worked with many different goalies by providing them with different art for their masks for several years. Fans can substitute goalies. In the National Hockey League, a special rule permits a team's backup goalie to be substituted by using a newbie participant from the stands if each of the team's goalies emerges as injured at some point in a game. This rule, recognized as the emergency backup goaltender rule, has solely been utilized in a handful of incidents in the records of the league. The EBUG is generally a nearby goalie who is beneath contract with the domestic crew and is reachable to be referred to as a pawn in case of an emergency. In some cases, the EBUG has been a group worker or even a Zamboni driver. While the rule may additionally appear like a novelty, it has performed an essential function in several games where each goalie has been injured. In 2020, for example, David Ayers, a 42-year-old Zamboni driver, grew to be the EBUG for the Carolina Hurricanes and ended up enjoying recreation in opposition to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Nap before every match. Taking a nap earlier than a fit in the National Hockey League can have quite a few advantages for players. A nap can assist gamers in recharging and putting together each mental and bodily for the sport ahead. It can also enhance their response time, alertness, and decision-making abilities, all necessary for a fast-paced and bodily stressful activity like hockey. However, gamers need their nap correctly to keep away from interfering with their sleep agenda later on. Additionally, some gamers might also opt for different pre-game rituals or activities, and what works quality for every person can vary. Fans smuggling things to match. Fans trying to smuggle objects into NHL games can be a serious protection challenge for each gamer and different attendees. In addition to the workable danger, additional policies and guidelines in the region restrict certain gadgets from being introduced into the arena. Common objects that are regularly smuggled consist of alcohol, drugs, weapons, and prohibited meals and drinks. Some followers can also strive to sneak in gadgets by hiding them in garb or bags, whilst others may additionally strive to bribe protection personnel. Oldest professional ice hockey league. NHL is the oldest professional ice hockey league, which started in 1917. Yep, you can take a moment to digest that fact. A 52-year-old player in NHL. The oldest player in the NHL records used Gordie Howe, who performed till the age of 52. Howe performed for 26 seasons, most incredibly with the Detroit Red Wings, and is viewed as one of the best hockey gamers of all time. He retired in 1971. However, he got here out of retirement in 1973 to play in the World Hockey Association and later rejoined the NHL at the age of 51 to play for the Hartford Whalers. If you are a sports fan and want to be informed about the events going on in the sports field, like the video and smash the subscribe button. And also click the bell icon to be the first one to learn something new.